All right, man. Sit back. This one is going to be a follow up to the Casanova and what makes a dropout yard. That's what this one is about. All right. So I'm gonna break it all down to you so you see how it's created. That way, you know why he there and everything is what it is. All right. Let's go. All right. You know what it is, man. Unique Mecca audio, man. This one's about Casanova and what makes a dropout yard so y'all understand what's going on. You understand? Now, I'm going to just tell you how they made Coleman 2, you know. And I wound up in Coleman 2. They wound up turning that into a dropout yard. It was an active yard. All these yards is what they call active. That's where all the gangs is actively killing each other. You know what I mean? That's active. Let's just get raw with it. We ain't gonna play no games, right? Everybody's just active, actively ready to kill, to take blood, to defend their honor. You understand? To defend their morals, their principles, the code they walk on, and that they'll fall on their sword before they violate that. That's an active yard. So imagine 2,000 men, and out of the 2,000 men, you got, 1,500 that's, walking and trying to walk that line, and then you break it down and you might have, 500. You might have 500 that'll fall on their sword, and others is at the verge of falling on it, don't know where they at. That's how serious these prisons is, right? Where the administration know to just leave everybody in their separate categories. When I say separate categories, I mean, the SURENO'S, the PISA'S, the DC car, the GDs, the Bloods, the Crips, they keep them contained. See all those names I just named? So that's how thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner the threat becomes to them. So long as they can break you down in the smallest molecule to contain you and push in that small contained, box that they put you in. So if something happens with somebody from your box, they go grab that person and put him in a special lockup box and throw away the key for about 30 days to maybe 6 months. That's the type of men that's on an active yard. So you fully understand. All right? So now they had a big fight with the SURENO'S and the PISA'S. You know what I mean? One of them owed one of them money. They wasn't trying to hear, for y'all just coming to the show. You know what I mean? This is money. I'm penitentiary rich right now. This is what you call penitentiary rich. You got this much stamps, especially on a Sunday football day, and you got this much stamps in your possession. You the man in that joint, man. Remember that. All right? So they get in, one of them didn't want to pay the other one, talk slick to him, boom, 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 it popped off in the yard, all kinds of stabbing went on, just to keep it moving, just so you fully understand, It turned into a big riot, a brawl out there in the yard. And while that was going on in the unit, a big SURENO jumped on a little Python in the unit, you know what I mean? And stomped him out. And it was a little Python that everybody liked, but he just didn't go to the yard that day. But when they looked out the window and they peeked what was going on, even the dude that sit there just play the guitar all day and sing old Mexican folk songs that nobody understand but, his people. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what we got going on out there. He jumped up, take his guitar, and boom, bust a SURENO in the head. When the joint was over, police asked him, say, yo, you don't bother nobody. Excuse me. Why you get involved? He said, man, I had to get involved because y'all gonna put me in a hole. That's gonna get me involved. Once I go in the hole, I got to deal with my people. They gonna ask why I didn't fight. So I had to fight, So you youngins could listen to this and understand where we at. So you see, this is 100% real, man. There's no faking in this. I mean, this is serious business, man. Like I said, men lost their lives in here. Now, men lost their lives. So you got the dropout yard where some I think somebody even got killed that day, and then other people got airlifted. Airlifted when you stab so bad that the local hospital can't do nothing for you, and the fastest way to get you there is to take you straight through the air. You know what I mean? And get your ass there before you pass out. That's airlift. So this is how vicious this riot was, right? So they locked the jail down for 30 days, right? They locked the jail down for 30 days. Now, during that 30 days, they went through interviewing people, found out what's going on. They found out what's going on. Then they found out that, that's who they want to get rid of, that it was the SURENO'S, you know what I mean? And the PISA'S say, so, okay, so we're going to get rid of the shot callers. So they combed through the file, they found out all the shot callers, and they grabbed the shot callers and they put them in that little special box I told you they're going to throw away the key, And then they go around and they get the shot callers lieutenants, and they put them in that little box, throw away the key. You know what I mean? And then they get their little foot soldiers, you know what I mean? And then they throw them away and put them in the thing. And then they look through the ones that's there to see if, they're violent, if they've been programming, if they just hiding under the gang or whatever. And if it's somebody that, like, he just hiding under the gang, you know what I mean? But he is active, but he just ain't listed on paper for putting in no work, So you take him and leave him on the compound, Now, the other aggressive ones, they transferred them to all the different USPs they got around the system. I'm talking about, Big Sandy, McCurry, Beaumont, Atwater, Victorville, Colorado, Coleman, Allenwood, Lewisburg, they all over the place, man, They even got a new one up there in New Hampshire somewhere. They got prisons everywhere. Y'all don't even realize that they building prisons like a mother around us. As we're talking, doing YouTube, eating each other's backs out and playing these YouTube games for views, These people is building prisons around us. You know what I mean? There's so many federal prisons now. When I first started, it was only like maybe 7 at the most. Now it's over 20. You know what I mean? Damn near 30. Penitentiaries, And that was unheard of. They didn't have too many places to send us back then. But anyway, because I like to ride. I like to ride. Just let me ride. I was riding just now. So now they had, during that 30 days, they separated the people, moved them out. As they moved them out, they brought in other people that was having problems in the shoe and other spots that was with these gangs that was trying to get out the gang. So they debriefed them. And after they debrief them, they bring them over there to Coleman, where they just had this big riot with the active yard, and they're getting ready to make it what they call a special needs yard. You know what I mean? So these dudes that want to drop out the gangs, those are special needs. You know what I mean? In the penitentiary. All right? That's special needs. So then now you got, dudes that, he cipher, monkey cipher, that's special needs. They can't survive amongst the men against the wolves, put them over here. You know what I mean? In Coleman. And, then they look and then they see the pedophiles, and they grab a pedophile, you know what I mean? And they grab them and they bring them over there and they put them there. Then when they open up the yard, before the police open the yard up, they let us know that, they let everybody that's there know, because I wasn't there at the time. I came after this. So they let them know that, this is what it is. We getting ready to turn this into a special needs yard. If any of y'all want to go, let us know where you want to go. We're going to send you directly to where you want to go. No beef, no problem. Just tell us if you can handle that. But we're going to be bringing, pedophiles and, he cipher, monkey ciphers and, and rats and dropout flags and everything else on this compound. You know what I mean? And dudes that just wanted to lay back and do their time said, man, I'm good. I have nothing to do with that gang stuff. That's them other people's, just them young boys. You know what I mean? And they stayed. And then you had some older gang members that just wanted to relax, that wasn't into no problems, and the administration knew that. So they talked to them older, gangbangers and let them know, like, this is what it is. I'm going to start bringing dudes here that's hot. Can you handle living on the compound with a hot dude from your car, And, some said, nah, I can't handle it. They said, okay, well, where you want to go? But he's a special needs, so he's coming here, and I'm going to send you where you want to go, unless you want to make this rough, and I send you where I want to send you. You ain't going to like where I want to send you, but you got to get out of here. You know what I mean? With that mentality. That's how they broke the yard, so you understand. So y'all get some real jewels, man. You know, my Instagram right there on the joint. Follow me on Instagram, man, and my Cash App getting ready to come up. Make sure you understand. There's no one in my last name, and push the logo, make sure it say 2020. You know, it was created. Now, so you understand. So that's how they made the dropout yard. So you still got men on the compound, but you got men that just want to do their time. Men that just want to go home. You know what I mean? And at this time, you know, I'm out in Atwater and, you know, I'm sitting down watching TV. I told y'all about this. I'm sitting down watching TV, and dude hit me in the back of the head with a lock. Boop! You know what I mean? But, you know, whenever I say that, I got to say, round of applause to the dude that hit me in the head with a lock. Round of applause. Gunshot, gunshot, gunshot. Round of applause. All right, calm down. You know, you got to give a dude his props. You know what I mean? He hit me in the back of the head with a lock. Boop! You know what I mean? I deserved it. You know what I mean? And on the penitentiary rules, you live by the rules. You deal, you know, with the reaction to the action. You know what I mean? You know, you got to be man about it. You know, you got that. You know what I mean? I earned that. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it might be reverse where you got to, you know, discipline somebody. You know what I mean? However you want to put it, whatever title you want to put on it. You know what I mean? Because you feel that you know, you was tried. But whatever. So where we at is they done transferred all these people there now, and that's how they make a dropout yard, right? So they moved all of them in, and they got the yard running the way they wanted to run, so they start making the food better. So now you go in the kitchen, you got big pheasants, you know, on Thursdays, and cornbread and sweet potatoes and corn and stuffing, and this is every Thursday. When the other prisons is basically they're eating peanut butter and jelly, you know what I mean, and bologna sandwiches. But over this special needs yard, that's how good they feeding you. So now the guys that couldn't take it and said they ain't gonna be on the compound amongst the rats, when they in the shoe and they bring that dinner, that lunch up there, because it'd be at lunchtime on Thursday, when they bring that Thursday lunch up there and he see all that food on that tray, you know what I mean? Make him want to think twice, like, you know, am I going to leave my partners alone to get this good food or not? You know, but he made the righteous, you know, right choice in my book, you know, to say, man, forget this pheasant, you know, boom, that's where he was at, because he was still riding, you know, his line, right? So he goes over there now, and they bring this good food, and then he gets transferred. And when he go to Oklahoma, he telling everybody about how good the food was at Coleman, Florida. You know, the new dropout yard. You know what I mean? And then when they get on the plane, it travels out. Boop, 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 boop. You know, all those other different penitentiaries and people on the plane going to different places where they talking on the plane and letting them know that, yeah, we getting ready to go. Boom, it's moving. You know what I mean? The food over there is banging, da-da-da-da. Man, they treating them, them rat bastards better than, gunshots. You know what I mean? Them rat bastards, you know, better than they treating us, you know, feeding them that and giving us peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean? So this is how the men feeling, but they like, man, never will I surrender. You know what I mean? Those dudes surrendered. You know what I mean? That's how they do it, you know? You look at it, you know, in the penitentiary rule, like, you know, he surrendered. You know what I mean? You know, he decided to, you know, boom. But anyway, so this is where we at, man. It's where we at. You know, I got to be real careful, you know, the way I deliver this to y'all, because I know that we got the trolls, the rat bastards, and the flip-flop wearing public clowns that's looking for something to dissect because they have no content, and I create content. You know what I mean? Big shout out to Hassan Campbell. He always give me good advice. You know what I mean? Oh, and don't forget my man 10 Toes Down. You know what I mean? Those, you know, up and Gene Deal. You know, let me see who else. You know, these are my and Ziggy Black. You know, these are my brothers that got podcasts that I talk to on a regular basis. They speed dial me and we do what we gotta do. But you know, that's what this is about, man. You know, my phone number flashes on the screen all the time. There it is right there on the screen. If anybody want to reach out to me, can reach out to me. Whatever it needs to be dealt with, we could deal with this on a professional manner, and we could talk on the phone and meet in person and deal with what we have to do as far as get a good understanding. And that's it. You know what I mean? For whatever misunderstanding that you have. But you don't need to go on YouTube and eat each other's backs out. But, you know, that's the way they choose to do it. So, you know, alhamdulillah. But, you know, Coleman became a no-tolerance yard. A no tolerance yard meant that if they seen an argument, show you how petty it became, right? How they made this a dropout yard and made it safe, right? See the game I give you, but you know you gotta let me ride, man. You gotta let me ride. You gotta let me ride. You know. All right. So now it became a no tolerance yard, and if they seen two men arguing, two men in the yard, and they look like they too aggressively in front of each other's face, they locked the jail down. Can you believe that? They locked the jail down for 2 weeks. 2 weeks locked in your cell, no TV, no nothing, and getting styrofoam tray with your lunch, which ain't nothing fitting on the styrofoam tray gonna fill you up for what they call a meal, you know. But that's how that is. So you fully understand where I'm at, you know. But for two men just looking at each other aggressively, how much more crazy can you get than that? Two dudes, yo, who you talking to? You know, whoop whoop, lockdown, 2 weeks, you know, and from them doing that, and they say there's a fight. Oh man, if it's a fight, you lock down for at least a month. You know what I mean? That's a simple fist fight. And it's a penitentiary. Other prisoners is praying for a good fist fight because they tired of seeing the bloodshed from the knife fight. You know, but we talking about a good fist fight. You're not. You know, it's like non-existent. But this is what they created at this yard. And they broke dudes from wanting to physically fight because everybody else know that they're going to be locked up for a certain amount of time. You know? Going to be locked up for a certain amount of time if, you know, one of their comrades fight. That means the 2,000 going to be locked up. And that's the way their mentality began to think. Like, you know, oh, they're going to lock us down. You know, I don't want to get locked down. Y'all better not fight. You know, if y'all fight, we're going to get locked down, man. You know, y'all need to just leave that alone. And it started teaching the men to police each other, you know. But in the penitentiary, you know, ain't nothing stopping no stabbing. I ain't going to say no fighting. Ain't nothing stopping no stabbing. You know, so if you youngins want to go there, think it's that sweet, feel free to go. I'm just giving it to you like it is. If I say the game is to be sold, not told, you already know. But that's how serious this get, you know? Yo.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
Yeah, I'm recording. What's up, son? You want to tell them who you are?
I'm still holding on.
Yeah, you want to tell them who you are? All right, I'll call you back. Yeah, so that's where we at, right? We just created an environment, is what I just sat here with you. I created a mental environment to break the aggression out of the men by separating the ones that didn't want aggression and letting them stay over here in this new dropout yard, Coleman 2. And we'll send them over here to McCurry, Big Sandy, you know, West Virginia, you know, Hazleton. And you ain't trying to go in the mountains in West Virginia with them white boys up in Hazleton. You know, thank God I ain't make it through that one. But they already said that Hazleton joint, they got them big racist redneck lumberjacks that ain't got a problem putting their white mitts on a black man. You know what I mean? I've been through that in Lewisburg. So I already know how that thing go, you know? And them big young boys right now, oh, my God, I don't know what they feeding them. But, you know, that's where we at. So it had a no tolerance. So from doing that, they separated the two. So now, you know, they still had dudes that wanted to act like they was active even when they wasn't active. You know what I mean? And those were the ones that was faking. So let's say they get in a fight and they press somebody that come on the compound for their paperwork. Say they want to see his paperwork, make sure he a rat. Mind you, you want a rat compound and you got a rat, asking another rat, let me see your paperwork to, you know, make sure you did not rat. But I ratted, but we want to make sure that you didn't rat, you know. And I presume, you know, if he find out he did rat, they're gonna beat him up and send him up top. But they all rats, so I guess they pick and choose the rat that they want. You see how crazy this is? I mean, I'm really taking you inside this penitentiary mentality right now. But you got a rat asking a rat for the paperwork, you know. So he gets his paperwork and he shows it to him. So now he sees his paperwork and he see he didn't tell. And he said, "You welcome on the compound." But mind you, the dude that's welcome on the compound, opening the welcome door, is the rat. You know, welcoming the straight man. I guess he don't want no more rats other than him. I don't know what it is. But this is the type of stuff that was going on over there. And they'll transfer the ones that wanted to fight out of there, and they'll bring others in. So, you know, when I got booped in the head with the lock, you know, gotta get it. You know what I mean? Round of applause to do that bust me in the head with the lock. Don't forget that. Now, so you understand, but this is just because this is penitentiary. I want y'all to understand how simple it is. I mean, you know, when this is how you get programmed. You know what I mean, to survive. You know, in a war zone, in a concrete war zone. So if that's what the youngins want, I'm going to walk them in there so they can understand a little bit about the mechanics of it and what Brother Casanova is getting ready to, you know, go through. So now you got dudes trying to act like they still active. That's like, let's say, young man Cass go on the compound and, you know, dudes want to question him about, you know, whatever, you know. They'll hurry up and transfer those dudes before they transfer him, because that yard is for people that they know has special needs and violated in the street way, some kind of way, or they felt they violated, you know. And that's how they decide where they put you. So now the compound they got the brother on got, you know, 350 people, and the joint hold like 1,800 to 2,000. So you can imagine how many empty spaces in there. That's because they're getting ready to build, you know, around that jail and put other high-profile dudes that come in, you know, with that. And that don't just mean rappers. It could be the dude, the gymnastic dude, Larry Narsher, whatever his name is, with the gymnast girls. I think he's already there. Because you know, okay. Now, so that's where we at. But, you know, I'm going to follow up on this more, and I'm going to get more details so we can find out what's going on. But, you know, so that's how that goes. So that's how they make a dropout yard. So y'all understand. That's how they make a dropout yard. And those spots, like I said, be safe because the men is trying to get out that stayed behind, that's not into the dropouts and all that other stuff. You know, these are just men that just want to do their bid and don't want to be around all the other craziness. So they weeded out the craziness that we wasn't a part of and didn't want to be a part of, and told us that we allowed to stay if we're like to stay. You know what I mean? And, you know, I stay in my lane. So I don't ask somebody what he locked up for. I don't ask somebody what happened to the joint. You know, when you get to that phase in your bid when you're trying to get out, that's how you have to really do it. Like, yo, keep everything over here. I'm going this way. You know? So y'all stay here and mix it up, you know, and I'm going that way. You know? And that's how I'm sitting here on YouTube hollering at y'all right now. You know, from that same mentality. So if you want to know if it work or whatever, that's it. I'm showing you. You know, it's live and direct. It's 100% on, you know. It's popping like popcorn. Now, so that's where we at, man. All right? Let me tap out. Let's get this thing right. Booyah!
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. Heat back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom, dropped the book, you should go and get it. An Instagram page and a YouTube you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops Mecca audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be horn uptown, Dominican bust down. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now you trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community yours. So we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them. And bless up to all the rudiments.